Hello. Thank you for tuning in to this 2023 primary election candidate forum for Tumwater City Council Position 7. This forum is presented by the League of Women Voters of Thurston County in collaboration with Thurston Community Media. The League of Women Voters is proud to be nonpartisan, neither supporting nor opposing candidates or political parties at any level of government, but always working on vital issues of concern to members and the public to defend our democracy and empower voters. I am Susan Fixdahl from the League, and I will be moderating this forum. James Allen will be our timer. The candidates in this race are Andrea McGhee, Bernetia B. Johnson, and Kelly Von Holtz. The League stresses the importance of civility in our candidate forums. By attending this forum, you agree to the ground rules that we provided. For this forum, each candidate will have the opportunity to answer a series of questions. The questions will be asked in reverse alphabetical order, and the questions will be alternated so that each has the chance to start first. You will also be able to give a 1-minute closing statement. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond. If you need to repeat the question, don't hesitate to ask. The timer will turn yellow when you have 15 seconds left, and then will show a stop sign when your time is up. If you don't notice the sign, I will tell you when your time is up. For the first question, I will begin with Kelly Von Holtz. What makes you the most qualified candidate for this position?
Sure. I've been a resident of Tumwater for the past 15 years. 10 of those years I have spent serving the community as a representative on Thurston County's Crime Stoppers, a member of the Parks and Recreation Board, and currently I'm a member of the Planning Commission. I serve on several community organizations, and I have over 30 years of public service with the state of Washington. My professional experience, along with my community involvement, makes me the perfect candidate for the city of Tumwater.
Thank you. And next, Bernetia, we will call her B. Johnson. We'll take the next turn.
Thank you. First of all, I believe one of the things that makes me a very strong candidate is I see the growth and development happening in the city of Tumwater and the need for support with small businesses. I'm best known for Love Local Tumwater, a grassroots effort to support and help small businesses reach out to the community during the pandemic. I've helped several nonprofits maintain their presence in the community as well. I volunteer with groups like Our Arc, helping bring a face to youth homelessness in our area. I'm one of the first independent contractors to hold a contract with the Economic Development Council in the city of Lacey to help them revive their downtown and bring small business to their downtown. I have worked in all fields. I've lived all over the country as a military spouse. I have been in education, and most of all, I love Tumwater and I want to preserve what it is that attracts us all to Tumwater.
Thank you. And now, Andrea McGhee.
First of all, thank you for having us here today. I am looking to serve on the Tumwater City Council because I've lived in Tumwater for 30 years. I love Tumwater. I love our schools. I was a member of the school board at one point, a small business owner in Tumwater, and I've seen us just grow. I think we've had triple the amount of people that are living in the city just in the last 30 years, and I see the continued growth. I think that I'll be able to bring my networking skills from working in the mortgage real estate field with the public sector and the private sector into my experience with the board, and look forward to learning.
Thank you. For the second question, I'll begin with Andrea McGhee. What should the city do now that the proposal to develop a regional fire department jointly with the city of Olympia has failed in the recent election?
From what I understand, that's a pretty complicated issue. I I empathize and totally agree that the fire and emergency management needs additional help. I'm not sure if the Regional Fire Authority was the answer and the voters didn't think it was the answer. So I would say if it is something that our regional area needs, then I would think that the fire department is probably going to work toward having more clarity on the issue before they take it back before the voters. But other than that, I don't have enough detailed knowledge of it to make a personal assessment.
Thank you. And B. Johnson?
Thank you. So I realized there was strong feelings on both sides of this issue. And I know our city council worked really hard on that bill that didn't pass. I personally would like to sit down with the people in charge, find out what their needs are, what their ideas are, and see if we can find a different approach to this that's going to please as many people as possible, because we can't make everybody happy. But I do see a need for more support for our fire department and our law enforcement as far as resources go in our community. As we grow, we need to think about the infrastructure involved.
Thank you. And Kelly Van Holt?
The voters did make a decision, and so now both Olympia and Tumwater need to kind of regroup and see what's next. I think there's a mental health crisis right now, and that's overwhelming our first responders as they're having to go out and not just be first responders for medical conditions, but social workers for mental health and homelessness. And so I think the cities need to work together to make sure that the resources are there so fire and police are able to do the jobs that they are actually paid to do.
Thank you. For the third question, I'll begin with B. Johnson. How do you think Tumwater should best address the issue of racial equity?
So thanks for that question, because I have worked really hard with BIPOC, the Black, Indigenous, people of color in small business, and worked with them a lot to get their cause out there. One of the things that I personally did was I started an event that happens every June that's called We Are Better Together, and it's a community outreach event that focuses on Black, Indigenous, people of color, LGBTQ community, women business owners, veteran business owners, and showing as a community how we all can come together, and diversity and inclusivity is what makes us great. Our first settler here in Tumwater was a man of color that was rejected from owning property in Oregon, saw our state, got involved in our state, and even though he was told he could not do certain things, went on to make our state great.
Thank you. And now Kelly Van Holt.
Equity and diversity, I'm on the city's Equity and Diversity Toolbox Committee, so I'm working closely with them to make sure, and just like Bea was saying, our city was founded by a man of color, and that is, it's amazing for the time. I'm part of several interest groups regarding equity and diversity, and it's so important, and it's what makes Tumwater a place where people not only fit in but actually belong, and that's very important in a community.
Thank you. Andrea McGhee?
I would probably focus most on educating our current city citizens just to have more opportunity for like minority small-owned businesses. I think that is something that we're lacking in Tumwater. And in the schools, I've had more experience in the schools. And I would say that we need to find a way to be equitable and not draw out so much differences rather than focusing on just the community being the community and making sure that everyone has equal opportunity and equal places without making any particular group of people feel like they need special help or that they're not capable. And so that would be my desire for Tumwater, is just to be a very even playing field for everyone and let everyone stand on their own merit and character and not be so focused on race all the time.
Thank you. Okay, our next question, question 4, goes to Kelly Von Holtz. Regarding the expansion of the Port of Olympia Airport, what points do you think the City of Olympia should bring to the interlocal agreement?
Well, I think one of the most important points that we should bring is, do we have the capacity to support a new local airport? Transportation, we have a aged infrastructure. The city of Tumwater, if you drive around on Trosper and Little Rock, you can just see how much commutes have increased and how much traffic has increased. And so really looking at what our capacity is for such a venture.
Thank you. Andrea McGhee?
Well, I don't think Tumwater or the surrounding areas want a airport that's any bigger than the one that we have now. As a matter of fact, I think that we would like to see more affordable housing so that our kids could buy homes here and live near us and work here. We would like to see less warehouses and less massive apartment buildings going up, and airport is just another one of those things that is going to make us more too commercial, too far away from what we love, open spaces and trees and views and community, and I don't see the community supporting that. And I don't know if it's even an issue to be worried about right now with the base having authority over the airspace, and putting a airport this close is probably not going to work out for some time. So I'd like to see us focus on other things.
Good. Okay, thank you. B. Johnson?
So I believe this question is actually asking about the expansion, not the proposed larger regional airport that would be 12 miles
That's
away,
right. Mm-hmm.
which is a bit different. I believe that Tumwater and the port need to work together, and the port needs to give Tumwater more autonomy over what happens in Tumwater, and I think that can be done in a joint effort. And I was actually thinking about this question earlier today, and I believe I know the port has the funding to build a convention center. We need convention space to draw more tourism to Tumwater, to be able to attract that revenue to our community, support small businesses, get taxes for schools, everything else. We could do a negotiation with the Port of Olympia. If you're going to expand, you need to also expand that road. You need to address the traffic. You need to address the housing. I'm in the fly zone.
We need to stop.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Now for the 5th question, goes first to Andrea McGhee. The state recently passed legislation requiring local governments to include a climate element in their comprehensive plan. How do you think Tumwater should address this?
The legislators just passed quite a few housing bills that are also going to be competing for climate mitigation. So in Tumwater, I think we have 4 endangered species that are causing some problems with development. And I also know that there's, from the housing perspective, they've done some middle housing changes in the legislature that are going to allow for 2 units to be built, some condo stuff, some existing structures that are commercial now to be changed possibly to housing. So I'm not very educated on the climate mitigation stuff that is happening, but I know that it's at the top of the priority list with the people that are already on council and in our city right now. So until I've learned more, I'm going to probably defer and learn from the people who are experts in this complicated situation.
Thank you. B. Johnson?
Could you please repeat the question?
Of course.
A little clarification. Thank you.
The state recently passed legislation requiring local governments to include a climate element in their comprehensive plans. How do you think Tumwater should address this?
So I know in a discussion that I had recently with one of our city council members, Thurston County is looking at a tree proposal. We already know that in order to even meet the percentage of trees that they want to preserve to save our climate, we could not even achieve that until 2050. So we need to start saving some of our wooded areas. Any developer that wants to come in needs to tell us what they can do to help Tumwater and their climate. We need to stop chasing developers. We have something rich and valuable here. We need to propose it that way. And I believe that can help with our climate mitigation.
Thank you. And Kelly Von Holtz?
As part of the Planning Commission for the City of Tumwater, climate is big on our list, and we are working on a tree plan. We're working very closely with the city's tree board in ensuring that our green space is protected, because that's part of the reason that Tumwater is such a wonderful place to live. And so the city will continue its work. Their staff is amazing, and all of them are working really hard to make sure that Tumwater remains a place where green space and the climate is at the forefront.
Thank you. And now we'll go for our last question with B. Johnson. What specific considerations do you think Tumwater should include in its negotiations with the Port of Olympia for an agreement for the Panettone development lease option?
Thanks, Susan. So first of all, we have a very underserved youth community. And I'm not talking about young children, I'm talking about teens. Tumwater has nothing for teens to do. We don't even have a bowling alley anymore. I know there is a community center proposed there. I would like to see more. I would like to see maybe an indoor pool splash pad type area where those teens can get jobs as lifeguards and work for the summer, or we can get a local swim team. Things that would serve a lot of our underserved youth, like community, like support groups for those underserved teens that don't have support at home, Boys and Girls Club, things like that in the city of Tumwater. And I think that's important to include in any plans for development in our city right now.
I'll have to stop there. Thank you. And Kelly Von Holtz?
Well, I agree that the city needs to ensure that there are places for our community and that those places remain even with development happening. And so I would like to see there is a recreation center that is in the works, that is being planned, and I would like to see that come to fruition. I would like to make sure that our seniors continue to have a place to be, and there does need to be a rigorous activities for our youth, because there isn't a lot for Tumwater youth to do. They have to go to Olympia or Lacey to take part in things. So really making sure that the port understands that Tumwater is a strong community that is excellent for raising families, and that we remain that way. And so those proposals need to include that, so we can continue that.
Thank you. And Andrea McGhee?
I have raised 4 kids in Tumwater, so I'm definitely in favor of some recreational areas to do, to have the kids have time to go out and not go to Lacey or Olympia to use their facilities, but stay in our community with their friends that they go to school with and their neighbors in walking distance. I immediately think of how we pay for these things, just because of my background in finance. And so while I want all the great things, I also think we really need to focus on bringing more housing to Olympia and more business to Olympia. And hopefully we can come up with some ways to put those together so that our land use is protected and our trees are protected and open spaces. But without that revenue, it's all not going to happen. So.
Okay, thank you. I'm assuming that you would ask about Panettone's interest in providing some of these things in all of your answers. Thank you. And now we have time for 1 minute for a closing statement, beginning with Kelly Von Holtz.
So I have a track record of working on city initiatives and serving in state government, and I have firsthand knowledge of the inner workings of the systems that shape our lives. This experience has provided me with invaluable insights into how to navigate the complexities of policy making and create tangible results. My qualifications extend beyond that professional experience because I have the experience of being a single mother living in Tumwater. So my role as a city council member would to make sure that everyone's voice is heard and everyone, anything that would affect a marginalized community would be brought to the table as well.
Thank you. B. Johnson.
I love Tumwater. I'm not from Tumwater. I see a lot of the growth and development that is going on in Tumwater that is not attractive anymore. It needs to be sustainable. We're in a sprint, and growth needs to be a marathon. It needs to be done slowly. It needs to be well thought out. There needs to be infrastructure. We can't be reactive, which is what we are now. If we keep exploding this way, we're going to have to be reactive in new schools, climate protections, all the things that we discussed today. We need affordable housing. We need single mothers to be able to afford to live in Tumwater and buy in Tumwater and raise their kids in Tumwater. We need to value what we have here in Tumwater. And we need to know that others coming in here with corporate warehouses value it as well and are going to help maintain it.
Thank you. And Andrea McGhee?
I love Tumwater. Like I said, I've lived here for almost 30 years, raised my kids here, want to continue to watch my grandkids grow here. And as we experience growth, which we will, we're on the I-5 corridor, there's no way that we're going to get away from growth. I think it's really important to get all the people at the table together so that the people who want to plant trees are talking to the people who are in charge of the budget for pulling up concrete when the trees have pushed the concrete up and we have to replace the concrete and we don't have the budget to do that. I want to see the brewery restored, and I want to see the SROs stay in our schools and keeping our kids safe. I want to see businesses expand and bring in